Hello, everybody. Grell Sutcliffe here. Well, today is September 11th, which marks the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks that happened 16 years ago. But I don't know if this will be uploaded later today as I'm doing it. It's currently September 11th. Probably about 5 o'clock in the afternoon as I'm doing this. But I wanted to tell you guys about my experience on that day. For those of you, I'm sure everyone remembers that day as it happened. Those who can remember it, those who are old enough to remember it, myself included. I remember like it was yesterday, even though I was only 11 years old and in 6th grade. I still remember how I found out and all that other stuff and how it was like in that school throughout the week. Now, well, first of all, guys, it just seemed like a normal day, normal morning, nothing really out of the ordinary for us. I remember the first period I had after homeroom was gym class, which there's no TVs in the gym, obviously, but nearing about probably about the beginning of gym class, actually, is when we heard on the announcement from the principal that there had been an attack in New York City and that planes had crashed into 2 buildings in New York City, which at the time I had no clue what they were. I actually had to watch the TV in later classes to find out, but yeah, I didn't really find out about it until I heard it on the intercom from the principal. The principal had announced it on the intercom, and I'm sure people in other classes knew from the TV already, but the principal also told us to say a prayer for those who were being affected by the tragedy. And yeah, we weren't really sure what he was talking about at first. Of course, we don't have a TV in the gym, but we knew it was something bad. We just didn't know exactly how bad it was, if that makes sense. But after gym class, on my way to the next class, that's when I found out how bad the situation was. Pretty much every classroom I walked by, their TVs were on the news channel showing images of, people bleeding, the planes crashing into the World Trade Center, which I called the Twin Towers at the time, and that's when I felt sad. 11 years old, I knew the severity of the situation as I was walking by the classrooms and they had their TVs on the news channel, which I still remember how bad I felt about it today. So yeah, back to the story, guys. I was on my way to the next period, and the walk there was one of the longest walks I've ever walked in my life. In fact, I didn't even want to go to the class. I didn't really feel like learning at that point. I just wanted to go home. I was starting to feel kind of afraid. And also at the time, my dad was on deployment. My dad was enlisted in the Air Force at the time, and he was actually on deployment. So it was also a lot of sadness for the fact that my dad wasn't there with us. And I knew he had to be feeling very sad, and he couldn't believe it as well. But yeah, it was the walk to that classroom after the gym I had where I was starting to feel sad, and I started to understand how serious the situation was. But as expected, once I finally did get to the class, everybody was down. Nobody had their head up. The teachers didn't want to teach. The students, including myself, didn't want to learn. Yeah, it was just all downhill at that point. You know, sometimes even, you know, like I said, the teachers didn't want to teach, and even it was just pure silence, guys. I mean, even the troublemakers, you know, every classroom has a troublemaker or two. Even those guys were quiet. Yeah, it seemed like the whole school stopped along with the whole country. Everything just stopped. I mean, nobody wanted to even be there anymore. Not the teachers, not the students, nobody. It was just a sad scene all around. Yeah, but eventually the end of school came, and the bus was so quiet. I mean, I've never had a quieter bus ride in my life. Everyone was just thinking of the situation. Everyone was just too stunned about what happened. Because, again, we all had the TVs on, so we were aware of what happened and what was still going on. So, it was... Yeah, guys, it appeared like everything was in slow motion. Everything was just stopping, you know. And when I finally did get home, I was by myself, and I didn't want to be by myself. I remember calling my mom, telling her I was afraid, and telling her I didn't want to go to school the next day. And she didn't let me go to school that day. We ended up staying at a friend's house, but, and, you know, we read the newspaper, of course, and we had the TVs on, but... You know, after I got home that day, I called my father as well, I believe, and as expected, he too couldn't believe what was happening down in New York City. Again, my dad was enlisted in the military until he retired not that long ago. But at the time, he was deployed for a little bit, and he... You know, I wanted to see him a lot. I wanted to just have him in my facility, just there with me. But the fact that he was deployed, I just felt even sadder. Like, I wanted to see my father. I think it was just the fact that I just wanted to know he was all right, even though I was talking to him on the phone. But, yeah, it was that sad, guys. Even with the fact that I was only 11 years old. The seriousness of the situation, it hit me like... it hit me just as hard as the planes hitting the buildings. And as always, I do pray for those who were affected by that tragedy. It truly was a sad event. You know, I remember just having my eyes glued to the TVs during the classroom. You know, we were just watching the TV, obviously. We weren't in the mood to learn. The teachers weren't in the mood to teach. It was like that the rest of the week. I did not even go to school the next day, and I forgot exactly what day it was, but we did go to school the following days after skipping out that day. And yeah, things were still just not the same. Not like how everything used to be. Like I said, everything pretty much stopped when we all realized what was happening. Because it was just... we just couldn't believe it. And we were all middle schoolers, and you know, the fact that nobody wanted to do what they liked to do just showed you just how big of an impact the situation had on even people who weren't there to see it. So yeah, it pretty much stopped the school as it did the whole country when September 11th, 2001 happened. And you know, I always pay my respects to the victims of that tragedy. And you know, it's something I will never forget. It's something I'll never forget about, at least for a long time. And you know, we have made a lot of progress since that day. We have killed the guy who's responsible. We have prevented many other terrorist attacks. So thankfully the situation has not happened again, even though terrorists have tried to do it again at some points. But yeah. Be sure to let me know how that tragedy affected you guys. If you have a story, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And yeah, guys, let me know how it made you guys feel, cause there's always a story. I'm pretty sure everybody has a story for that particular day, those who can remember it. And yeah, if you do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments section. But yeah, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, even though this video wasn't really about the gameplay. Again, subscribe to the channel if you love Gears of War, and if you love other content such as Injustice or Madden or any other games like that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a chance. But anyway, guys, be sure to leave a comment on what your experience on that day was. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.